Why would you quit and go against what you told me 2 years ago?
I'm not quitting politics.
But you quit the post in which you did all this work for the benefit of the city.
Because you see, I feel there are shackles when you're at a post. It is difficult, right? I'm not a free person. I have compulsions of the position that I hold. I'm responsible to the people. My simple grievance is that if a road is in shambles, you will not be questioning the court. You will not be asking the judge that, Mr. Judge, my lord, why is the road not being made? You'll question the political leadership. You'll question the mayor. You'll question the MPA, the minister, the chief minister, the prime minister, the MNA, the local government department. So when we are questioned, the least that we are asking for is allow us to operate in a manner which is provided for in the law.
So why did the law, I mean, if you explained it so clearly, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, I'm not
You see, you're not playing to the galleries. You're listening, right? We need to understand that.
But isn't that the judicial system globally? They have to listen to both sides of the argument before reaching a conclusion?
If that was the case, with greatest respect to the courts, if that was the case, we would not have so many miscarriages of justice in our country. There are issues. Just like there are issues with our political system, there are issues with our legal judicial system as well. At least I have the honesty to accept that there are issues with my political system, with the administrative system, with the system of governance.
But you've got,
Can our judges accept that there are issues with our judicial system?
How can you hold them accountable? There is no system for that.
There is no system of accountability.
But is there any system of accountability for judges or judiciary globally?
Of course.
What is that?
In the US, the appointment of judges is eventually ratified by their Congress.
True, on the Supreme Court.
In Pakistan, that's not the case. The Parliamentary Commission is just a rubber stamp. They can't do it. Why? Because court passed a judgment saying that you will be intervening in judicial matters. That's a long debate. But you see, introspection is extremely important. You can only improve once you accept that there are issues. You introspect, you review yourself, and you realize, okay, I made these mistakes and I will improve. I'm not perfect. In the 6.5, 7 years that I've spent in government service, I've not made perfect decisions. I may have made bad decisions, right? But at least you can tell me that, Murtaza, buddy, that was a bad decision you made. Another friend, another colleague, some public at large can tell me this is a bad decision. I will listen to you. And I introspect. I talk to myself. I review my performance and then move forward.
Right.
But that's not the case. Right? So,
how do you fix this?
First, we need to create this awareness. The realization has to come. This country cannot be resolved by an individual. This country's issues cannot be resolved by one NGO, one great politician, one great judge. The issues will be resolved when proper institutions are built, when there are inherent checks and balances in the system. The country will function properly when the law is followed in letter and spirit. Let's say you are an entrepreneur. You make your strategy based on the commercial jurisprudence that exists right now. You will look at the law, you will read the law.
Correct.
You will ask your lawyer to advise you.
Absolutely.
You will say, okay, Mr. Lawyer, tell me what is the way forward. He will look at the Companies Act. He will look at the income tax ordinance, and he will say, this needs to be done based on what is stated in the law.
Right.
Now, let's say if what is stated in the law is not clear and it says 3 things, would you be able to invest? Would you be able to work?
How can you invest? You need full data.
So you need certainty, you need consistency.
Correct.
Right? So when the words of the statute, when words of the law are not given their plain simple meaning, it leads to a situation which is confusing, which is not clear, situation which is inconsistent. And inconsistency is not for the benefit of our society. So I, as a public office holder, I, as a public servant right now, if I'm making a policy, I'm making a policy staying within the ambit of law. The law allows me to impose a tax. The law allows me to collect the tax by way of a third party. Tell me, where did I go wrong? There is absolutely nothing wrong. just because this person is saying that I disagree with this collection, just because this person says that I do not like K Electric, don't collect it through K Electric, would the entire process or should the entire process be stopped?
So in this case, how would you, if you were the judge, if that's the hypothetical we take, how would you operate? What would be your decision?
I will follow the law. And the
But
law,
you have followed the law.
No. I will follow the law as it is stated. I will not follow the law what the petitioner is claiming to be.
So the law states...
The law says that the tax can be imposed,
Fair
and
enough.
the court still says that there's nothing wrong with the law, right? And the law allows KMC to collect it by way of a third party.
Okay, so stop there. So if you are fulfilling the two ambits of the law, then where is the interpretation problem?
That you should ask the worthy judges. I can't really comment on that.
I prefer to stay out of the courts. I leave it to you smart lawyers to handle.
I do not know after this program what might happen, right? But again, with greatest respect, we are a democratic, civilized society.
We're allowed to ask questions, no?
We should be allowed to ask questions. We should be allowed to ask anything that affects us. And the basic thing is that the eventual will of the people should prevail. And the will is expressed by way of vote. The will is expressed by way of what is the government structure. Because why? The constitution which makes a certain person a judge makes way for a cabinet, makes way for the ministers, makes way for the chief minister or the prime minister.
Right.
So just like the judges are allowed to adjudicate upon disputes, similarly, the executive and the legislature, the parliament, is allowed to legislate and act upon the legislation. And that is why, if you read the Montesquieu was this great philosopher, and he said, no civilized society can exist which does not have separation of powers. That means the executive, legislature, and judiciary all have to, respect their boundaries. If today, let's say, the government starts to decide judicial issues, it will lead to a situation which is unfortunate. Similarly, the judiciary cannot, the judges cannot, intervene in such matters. They should not. So if I was a judge at this point of time, I would have imposed cost. Why? Because you are intervening. The litigant is intervening or trying to impede an executive action.
So you would have charged the person.
And the law allows it. It's a frivolous litigation in my view.
So you can actually charge them for that litigation.
Absolutely. The court can impose costs, and there are, it is stated for in the Civil Procedure Code. The judges can very well do it. All I'm saying for is that if this country is to move forward, फैज़ान ये टैक्स इकट्ठा होता है ना, इस टैक्स से प्राइम मिनिस्टर की तनख्वाह जाती है, इसी टैक्स से मिनिस्टर्स की तनख्वाह जाती है, इसी टैक्स से जजेस की तनख्वाह जाती है, राइट? इसी टैक्स से डेवलपमेंट के काम होते हैं. फिर जब आप नीचे लेवल पर आते हैं और लोकल गवर्नमेंट की सतह पर देखते हैं, तो लोकल गवर्नमेंट जो टैक्स लगाती है, उन टैक्सेस से आप शहर को मेंटेन करते हैं, शहर के इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को मेंटेन करते हैं. और दुनिया भर में ये होता है. आपने कभी देखा है सादिक खान जो है लंदन का मेयर, या बोरिस जॉनसन लंदन के मेयर थे व्हेन आई वाज स्टडीइंग इन इंग्लैंड, आपने नहीं सुना होगा कि उन्होंने कोई टैक्स लगाया और अदालत ने उसको स्ट्राइक डाउन कर दिया.
कि वहाँ लोग तो टैक्स देते कि उन्होंने को आदत है. बल्कि
पब्लिक को पता है हमसे क्या पूछना चाहिए. द पब्लिक शुड ऑलवेज आस्क, वी आर पेइंग दिस मच टैक्स, वेयर इज द अमाउंट ऑफ मनी गोइंग? And that, as the administrator of KMC, I had informed to the people.
How does that? Is there a public accounts committee or something of the sort जहाँ पे public can see where the money is being spent?
See, what I did was, एक तो the way KMC operate, because it is a public corporation, its documents are public. What I did was, I announced when I started this tax mechanism, I announced that I will display it on the website of KMC every month, that what is the total collection made and where is the amount being spent. So people will be able to ascertain, they will be able to assess, okay, how much money came in.
That's
and
brilliant.
where it went.
Absolutely.
Transparent. And I'm creating this precedent. Why? Because the future mayors would be able to follow it. Right? I'll give you a small example. I worked on this tax. KPT, which is the Karachi Port Trust, that is also supposed to pay this tax to us. And for the last 9 years, there was this dispute between KMC and KPT, and they were not paying a dime to KMC. Even though Wasim Akhtar was the mayor and Ali Zaidi was the minister Both were coalition partners in the government. But despite the coalition, they were not paying this tax. So when I took over, I raised the issue with KPT. I told them, I said, the law allows or makes it mandatory for you to pay the amount to KMC annually, and that's not being paid. I engaged with them. I fought the case of KMC before KPT, and I'm very grateful to the KPT administration, including the minister Faisal Sabzwari, who supported me. And eventually, about 3 weeks ago, KPT handed over a check of 230 million rupees, 23 crore rupees to KMC for the first time in 9 years. And I made a pledge to KPT that I will spend this amount in the areas which are connected to the port so that your infrastructure can be improved. So what I did was, I started work on rehabilitating the ICI bridge. You would know about it.
It needs work, a lot of work.
I started to rebuild the Dockyard Road, which was
terrible.
in shambles.
Terrible.
I started work on the road leading to fisheries, and I started work on the road around the Jackson Market area in Kimadi. These 4 things I started the moment I received the amount of money from KPT.
And all need a lot of work, and KPT benefits from this.
Absolutely. City benefits. You see,
And
Fazan, at
city
the end of the day,
benefits. The residents benefit
you
of
see,
the
at the end
area.
of the day, you can't distinguish that this road will be used by Fazan only or by Murtuza only,
Right.
or the chief minister will go on this road all
I'll
the
pay
time.
50 rupees to use that road.
Right? It's a public purpose project. It's a
Right.
public spirited project. Why? Because the public will benefit from it, and that's what you need to do, right? So I, as a public office holder, was showing my bona fide, my good faith, by telling the people or telling the organization that I was collecting tax from, okay, look, I will do this with this amount.
Right.
And I started doing that, and I had the same plans with the amount that was supposed to come through K Electric, but unfortunately.
Unfortunately, here
One
we are.
individual did not agree with my policy. Next time I feel that before the legislature passes a law or the government makes any decision, we should consult all political parties, we should consult every single citizen, then we should also consult the honorable courts and then decide so that nothing really happens.